On May 8th, an international panel of delegates gathered at the WASP Center in Vancouver to discuss the possible legalization, not decriminalization, but legalization of cannabis in Canada.
Vancouver is ground zero for the cannabis reform movement globally, and it's great that the mayor was able to come out and say what he said, and people like Dr. Todd McAree, even the audience is full of well-known activists and luminaries, so it's really exciting to see. Canada's always been about free speech and stuff like that, and now there's a number of cafes and bookshops and stuff where you can smoke grass freely and stuff like that. Nowhere open that you can buy it, but definitely people aren't getting hassled. There was the fire recently, but can't really blame the government for that. Just some sore loser out there, you know.
My record for cultivation for the purpose of goes back to 1985. Farmer Tom at MSN.com, spelled with a PH rather than an F. The main medical thrust of everything, I guess, has been in the last couple of years since I became a member of the Compassion Park Society. It's time to make some noise.
I think it's quite clear from the speakers and from the audience that we all agree that prohibition should be ended and that marijuana should be legalized. There may be a couple of differences amongst everyone on how we're going to get there and what we're going to do when we get there, but certainly the consensus is let's get rid of prohibition, let's legalize this industry.
What kind of people smoke marijuana?
Everybody.
Really?
All walks of life, basically, from skateboarder kids to professional adults. I have seniors coming here also, actually. I'm hoping it makes people more comfortable and more accepting of cannabis and cannabis consumption, and there's some people that it's actually helpful for. And so I hope it encourages those people with MS, people with glaucoma, undergoing cancer treatment. Yeah, this is the hip, cool, trendy thing right now. These guys change color when you smoke through them. There's silver and gold blown into there. What makes it change is when the tar and resin that's created when you burn the marijuana, puts a dark coating inside the pipe and blocks out that light, and then different colors in the glass show up. Purple, blue, green. That thing is like the ultimate vaporizer. That comes from Germany. It gently keeps your herbs, so it just causes the oil and water vapor to evaporate. There's no combustion taking place. You can just inhale that vapor and without the smoke, and it's the perfectly harmless food.
Marijuana's better when you can share it with other people, when you can enjoy it. We want to share marijuana with everyone in this whole country. We want to share marijuana with everyone on this planet who doesn't have the chance to enjoy this special herb.
The most dangerous thing about marijuana is the current laws, is you can end up paying a big fine or possibly going to jail for it.
Why do you think talks are still going on, even now, after what, I think 30 years? Why is that?
Possibly alcohol and tobacco companies have the market cornered on mind-altering substances, I suspect, as well. Pharmaceutical companies, I think, also might be involved. But you can't patent marijuana. It's an old plant. It's as old as people, probably.
We started today with Murray Mollard saying the public is way ahead of the politicians on this issue. That's where we ended today. With Senator Nolan saying you've got to push your leadership in the right direction. They're not going to lead you. You have to push them. You have to lead them.
The Liberal government did have legislation before the House such that small quantities of marijuana would be decriminalized. Now, what that means is, a lot of people think that means that marijuana becomes legal. What it means is it would no longer be a criminal offense to possess small quantities of marijuana.
Currently, I think a lot of the problems associated with marijuana are based on the fact that it is illegal and nothing else.
Is this really, reefer madness? Is this going to be, people attacking people or, smoking one joint and on heroin the next day? Probably not, but let's have that debate. Let's have some real, logical, practical debate on the issue.
We don't necessarily agree with legalization of marijuana, but we do agree with decriminalization of marijuana.
I'd like to invite you to support our party, which is in favor of modernizing our marijuana laws and creating a legal environment in which people can enjoy their marijuana in the peace and quiet of their own home or in a cafe without having to worry about being criminalized.
Did I get this right? Academics, politicians, and the public all in favor of modernizing our marijuana laws? So why hasn't it happened?
In 1961, the U.S. convinced the UN to make it a violation of international law to legalize marijuana.
Being a police officer is an extremely challenging and rewarding career. I've enjoyed every day. I've been fortunate, to get out and work with the public, for the public, on a daily basis, and to see some positive feedback from them and growth in the community. It's just a great all-round career.
Tony is a sergeant for the Calgary Police Force. He sees the effects of prohibition on a regular basis.
As a member of a tactical unit, part of my function is to execute warrants in relation to drugs. The reason we do that is because our stats indicate to us that a very high percentage of the time the people inside are armed. So it's dangerous for the regular police service members to go. People who produce drugs are prone to protect their product.
As a result of that, an officer safety issue comes into play. So we go there, and my role is simply to enter the premise, to secure the premise, and to bring the investigators in and let them investigate it. So that's what I do. The Canadian Medical Society are telling us that this is extremely dangerous for us to go in into these grow operations. There's a fungus, a toxin, a mold that grows in the grow operations. I have to wear a full suit over top of my uniform. I have to wear gloves, I have to wear glasses, and I have to wear a respirator. And we have gone into grow operations and found people dead inside.
Have you seen an increase or a decrease in the amount of grow operations over your career?
Massive increase.
Massive increase over my career. It continues to increase steadily.
The courts seem to be more lenient today than they were in 22 years ago.
I think it should be decriminalized. So I don't think that people should have open access to it, but I don't think there should be sanctions, in particular, simple possession.
Elliot is a drug lawyer working in Calgary.
For here, if you were caught growing 200 to 300 plants, you would probably end up getting what's called a conditional sentence for about 2 years. If you got caught in BC, you'd get a fine or maybe up to 90 days in jail on weekends. So it's much more strict in Alberta than in other provinces. I don't think people should be going to jail for growing marijuana. That's my own personal opinion. And generally with conditional sentences, which means jail but serving it in the community, the courts are pretty good because they're not really hard on the house sitters. What they really want to do is get the people that are behind the profit. And because those people insulate themselves, it's difficult to do that.
Drug crime is
big. It fuels a lot of other crime. And once people become addicted to drugs,
they start to lose a lot of self-respect. Lots of times they lose the jobs. Now they've got a habit that they have to fuel. And lots of times they turn to crime to fuel that habit. We as Canadians need to look at. We need to know. We need to look at.
Have you ever met anybody addicted to marijuana?
No, I haven't.
No.
It's challenging. Changes daily. The laws change. The expectations of the people change. And you know what? The long and the short of it is we react for the people. So when their expectations change, then our actions must also change to meet those expectations.
I don't care if they legalize pot. It doesn't matter to me if they take it off the books. Leave us alone. Let me sell weed over the counter.
At 1018 Commercial Drive in Vancouver is the very first fully licensed Dutch-style coffee shop called Dakine. Within, medical marijuana users can purchase a variety of herbs from a reasonably priced menu. One product, unique to Dakine, is a sticky resin known as butter, which they claim is 99.3% THC.
And it is the most pivotal event to happen in Vancouver, I believe, since our organization was founded. Dakine at 1018 Commercial Drive is just like Amsterdam. And if that is allowed to remain, it will change forever the way this city is.